Tonight to the NFL star arrested and charged with felony kidnapping and armed robbery.
On February 4th, 2026, in a Tampa, Florida apartment, 3 men were held at gunpoint. They were beaten, pistol whipped, robbed, and the man accused of ordering it all was not some career criminal. He was a first-round NFL draft pick, a Detroit Lions starter, a 23-year-old cornerback who had the entire football world at his feet. This is a story of Terrion Arnold and how a $250,000 theft may have cost him everything. To understand how a young man ends up in a Florida jail on 8 felony charges, you first have to understand where he came from. Terrion Arnold grew up in Tallahassee, Florida, the very state that would later see him behind bars. He was a football prodigy, a defensive back with instincts and athleticism that scouts drooled over. At the University of Alabama, Arnold became a standout cornerback under Nick Saban's dynasty program. He wasn't just good, he was NFL ready. And in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions, a team reborn under general manager Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell, selected Terrion Arnold in the first round. 2024 NFL Draft, first round pick Detroit Lions cornerback. Detroit was a team ascending. Coming off their best regular season in decades, the Lions were legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and Terrion Arnold was supposed to be a cornerstone of their secondary for the next decade. In his second season, he recorded 31 tackles and an interception. He was learning, growing, earning his place. He was 23 years old, rich, famous, playing for one of the hottest teams in football. Life was good. The story begins not in a courtroom, but in a rental home in Largo, Florida, a quiet coastal city about 20 miles west of Tampa. It was February 1st, 2026, the NFL offseason. Terrion Arnold and a group of associates were staying at an Airbnb, a luxury rental. They were living the life that comes with being a young millionaire in professional sports. Then, someone robbed them. February 1st, 2026, $250,000 in property stolen from Airbnb in Largo, Florida. Stolen items included high-end designer bags, firearms, jewelry, a cell phone, and cash. On February 3rd, Arnold and members of his group reported the theft to the Largo Police Department. The loss was staggering, over $250,000 in personal property gone overnight. Now, here's where the story takes a critical turn. Arnold and his group had hired a private driver during their stay, and according to investigators, they believed, incorrectly, that the driver was involved in the theft. The police were already on it. An investigation was underway. But Terrion Arnold and his associates didn't wait. 3 days after the theft, February 4th, 2026, shortly after midnight, 3 men in their late teens were lured to a Tampa apartment. They thought they were going to hang out, meet some people. What they walked into was a trap. Inside that apartment, 2 of Arnold's co-defendants, identified as Lindell Hudson II and Christian Williams, were waiting. What happened next was brutal. According to court documents, the victims were battered, held at gunpoint, and pistol whipped. 2 of the men were jumped immediately. A third man arrived at the apartment and was also assaulted. All 3 had visible injuries. But here's the detail that makes this case even more shocking and more damning for Terrion Arnold specifically. Arnold was not in the apartment. He was watching it happen. Investigators say one of his associates set up a live stream of the assault, and Arnold watched it remotely in real time as 3 men were being beaten. Key finding from prosecutors: Arnold allegedly watched the assault via live stream while located elsewhere, and then the hammer drops, one that would haunt every defense argument in this case. The 3 men who were beaten, robbed, and terrorized, they had nothing to do with the original theft. Investigators confirmed it. The wrong people were targeted. 3 innocent teenagers attacked in retaliation for a crime they didn't commit. No one has the right to take the law into their own hands. A dispute over missing property does not justify kidnapping, violence, or retaliation.
What distinguishes Mr. Arnold from those other 6 is he has no hands-on, he never goes into the apartment, there's nothing on his phone, on his social media, on his texts. What you have, the state has, to connect Mr. Arnold through the principal theory currently is the testimony of the two co-defendants that were facing life in prison, who this court didn't have the ability to personally judge their credibility.
For months, the case moved quietly through the Florida legal system. 6 co-defendants were arrested first. Then came the moment that shocked the NFL world. On June 25, 2026, Terrion Arnold, a starting cornerback for the Detroit Lions, surrendered to authorities at Orient Road Jail in Hillsborough County, Florida. Charges filed against Arnold: 4 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of armed robbery, 1 count of conspiracy to kidnap, 1 count of conspiracy to commit armed robbery. Total, 10 felony charges. Maximum sentence, life in prison. Police say Arnold was the, quote, primary conspirator, that he coordinated and directed the co-defendants to lure the victims to the apartment. The evidence: cell phone records, text messages, testimony from co-defendants who had already pleaded guilty and were now cooperating with prosecutors. Text messages obtained by the Detroit News through an open records request showed Arnold's name mentioned multiple times in the planning of the assault. Cell phone records allege that one co-defendant gave instructions to lure the victims at Arnold's request. Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkhaw didn't mince words at a press conference. Fame doesn't get you out of criminal charges or our pursuit of justice and holding criminals accountable. And the Hillsborough County Circuit Court judge, at an earlier pretrial hearing for one of Arnold's co-defendants, put it even more bluntly. The robbery and kidnapping, he said, were the direct result of Arnold and his friends deciding to take matters into their own hands. Terrion Arnold is not going down without a fight. The 23-year-old voluntarily surrendered to authorities, a move that his legal team says demonstrates cooperation. And from day one, both Arnold and his representatives have categorically denied everything. Terrion Arnold categorically denies any involvement in the matters underlying the allegations made against him and maintains his innocence. There is no credible evidence linking Mr. Arnold to these allegations. Instead, the government appears to be relying on testimony from multiple convicted felons who have admitted their own involvement and may have substantial incentives to shift blame in an effort to lessen their sentences. His attorney, Timothy Jansen, echoed that stance in court. Arnold is, quote, absolutely denying these allegations. And there is a real legal argument here that deserves scrutiny. The prosecution's key witnesses are co-defendants who have already pleaded guilty. People who have every incentive to point the finger at someone else to reduce their own sentences. Arnold was not physically present in the apartment. No one has alleged he pulled a trigger or threw a punch. The prosecution's case rests largely on phone records and the testimony of admitted criminals. His team says the judicial process will lead to his ultimate vindication, but the court proceedings tell a different story about how seriously the system is taking this. At his pretrial detention hearing on June 29, 2026, prosecutors argued Arnold should be held without bond. They called him a danger. They said, quote, there are 3 individuals who had guns pointed in their faces because of this defendant. The judge denied the state's request to hold him without bond, but set bond at $1 million. Among the conditions, Arnold must surrender his passport and can only leave his residence for work or legal purposes. For the Detroit Lions, this was a no-win situation from the moment the arrest was announced. Initially, the organization released a cautious, measured statement. We are aware of the legal situation regarding Terrion Arnold. We will not comment at this time out of respect for the ongoing legal process. But on the same day as his pretrial detention hearing, June 29, 2026, the Lions made their decision. In a brief statement on social media, the Lions announced they had released the 23-year-old cornerback. Think about what that means.
Detroit Lions announced that they have released cornerback Terrion Arnold from the team. They posted that on X about an hour ago.
This news comes just hours after he appeared in a Florida courtroom on felony charges for an incident that happened back in February.
A first-round draft pick, a player the Lions invested not just in salary, but in years of development, gone just like that. The financial implications are enormous. Arnold was still on his rookie deal.
Terrion Arnold, he is behind bars tonight after making his first court appearance in Florida.
And he faces possibly life in prison if convicted. According to a police report, Arnold told investigators more than $250,000 in cash, jewelry, luxury bags, and other valuables had been stolen from an Airbnb where he was staying in the Tampa Bay area months ago. Detectives later determined they were not involved in the theft. Investigators say those victims were lured to a Tampa apartment where they were beaten, held at gunpoint, and robbed.
The Lions now lose a starting cornerback on a Super Bowl contending defense with no warning and very little time to replace him before the 2026 season. And Arnold himself, he could lose millions in contract money, potentially even if he's eventually acquitted. The NFL's personal conduct policy gives the league the power to suspend and fine players regardless of how criminal cases conclude. The game of football may have already made its judgment even before a jury does.
Yeah, I mean, we've probably everything you guys know. I mean, we got all the information that says he wasn't involved. That's what we know. That's all we know. And I mean, that's really all I can say. I mean, we're monitoring what's out there. I mean, as of a month ago, this was nothing. You know, So I have no idea what this is. As far as I know, it's still not a big deal. It seems like, you know, he wasn't involved with this.
Let's step back for a moment. This is not just a story about Terrion Arnold. It's a story about decisions, about what happens when wealth and fame and the sense of power that comes with them lead a person to believe they can solve their problems outside the law. $250,000 was stolen. That's a real crime. That's real money, real violation, real anger. Anyone would be furious. But the path Arnold allegedly chose, the luring, the planning, the live streaming of 3 teenagers being beaten in an apartment, represents a catastrophic failure of judgment. If the allegations are true, it wasn't justice, it was vengeance against the wrong people. And 3 young men paid the price for it. The NFL has seen this story before. Talent derailed by decisions made in the dark, by choices that happen off the field, away from the cameras, in the hours when no coach or agent is watching. The question now is, what happens next?
Details now in the assault and robbery case out of Florida, allegedly connected to Lions player Terrion Arnold. According to documents obtained by CBS Detroit, Arnold's name is mentioned in text messages allegedly tied to the case. It centers on 2 robberies at an Airbnb Arnold was renting in Largo, Florida. An associate of his is accused of setting up an attack on 3 men believed to be involved in the robberies.
The legal process will play out. Terrion Arnold deserves his day in court, and if the evidence doesn't hold up, he should walk free. That's how the system is supposed to work. But the Lions won't wait. The NFL won't wait. His career may already be over at 23 years old.
Terrion Arnold is set to appear for a pre-trial detention hearing.
Detroit Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold is back in the spotlight today. As you mentioned, the NFL superstar is scheduled to make an appearance here at the Hillsborough County Courthouse for a pre-trial detention hearing as he faces charges that could carry a life sentence.
Mr. Arnold, because you've been arrested on 6 dangerous crimes under Section 907.0415A, that are first-degree felonies categorized as dangerous crimes and punishable by life in prison. You are going to be held at no bond on those charges.
Terrion Arnold's pretrial detention hearing happened this morning, June 29, 2026. His bond was set at $1 million. The state attorney has up to 21 days to file formal charges. This story is far from over, and we will be following every development as it unfolds. If you want to stay updated, subscribe to this channel. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the Lions made the right call releasing Arnold before the trial? Let us know. And remember, in this country, a person is innocent until proven guilty, but the truth always comes out. I'll see you in the next one.